There is only one being on this planet. There is not separate beings, although we talk like that sometimes. Because on the level of the dualistic mind, it can make sense on that level, but it's not the ultimate. The ultimate is that there's only one of us here. There's only one being. And what I mean by that is if you really start to analyze or investigate your beingness, what you realize, what you discover is that your beingness is the same beingness of every individual, of everything. And that beingness is synonymous with the I am presence, or I exist. So existence itself is universal. It's one. It just is, right? That's another way of saying it. However, in the one being, which we could call God's being, there are many different expressions of the one, of the divine, of source, and that's where we get our authenticity from. That's where the soul flourishes from that level of reality, which, by the way, this is just another layer, another level of reality. It's not even, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole in this video, but what I'm saying here is there's different levels, there's different dimensions, there's different constructs of how the one divides itself up into the many, but ultimately the one dividing itself up into the many is just part of the dream of God. It's not reality. It's not what's actually happening, but it is at the same time, because anyway, that's why I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, because it gets really tricky to explain. But anyway, from the one being, the soul is a unique wave of the one, of the ocean, right? But the wave is the ocean, and it's certainly not separate from the ocean, and it's not separate from any other wave. The ocean is the wave is the ocean, and all waves are held together by the... So, do you see where I'm going there? There's that uniqueness. There's that sense of the ocean is manifesting in this particular way, but there's no separation. There's only one ocean. And that's how it works with being, or, like I said, existence, the true self, the I amness. There's only one I am that I am. Your sense of I am is the same sense of I am that I have and that everyone has. I am, and that's, if you think about it, whenever we introduce ourselves, for the most part, to someone else, what do we say? When they say, who are you? What is your name? I am, and then we say our names. So we are not our names. We have a name, but we are not our names. Who are we then? Well, the deeper sense of who we are, the true self, capital T, capital S, is the I am that we all say. Maybe we don't realize we're saying it, but we all say it before we say who we think we are. Our names, what we do, our occupation, whatever it is, right? But that I am is the ground of being, as Paul Tillich said. It's the ocean. It's the one. And I like how Paul Tillich, but now I'm talking about Paul, the apostle. In Acts 17, he's speaking to the Athenians, and he quotes some of their Greek poets, and he says, in God, in God's being, we live and move and have our being. See, there's no separation here. There's oneness. And through that oneness, we are learning how the one is uniquely expressing itself in infinite ways, and that's what makes life so incredible and so magnificent and so extraordinary, to see the infinite ways the one is expressing itself in the appearance of duality, in the appearance of all these different forms. But the forms and all the different appearances, there's no separation in that. It's all stemming from the one. It's all a manifestation or an expression of the one. And that's what I'm pointing to or referring to when I talk about God. For me, God, I've talked about this a lot in many videos, but for me, God is not a being that is separate from us or from creation. God is being itself, the one being. And in God's being, we, if you want to say it like this, as the waves, are doing what we do and shining. Or another analogy, another way of saying it, is we are all the different rays of the sunlight, right? So there's different ways of framing it up. We are all different branches of the one tree, but there's only one tree. Many branches, right? Many extensions or expressions of the one tree. There's just one tree. There's just one sun. There's just one ocean. So that's another part of like this interesting construct of Earth School, is that we have all these different things that appear to be outside of ourselves, which they're really not, but they appear to be that way. And we can learn about what actually is. We can see that there's all these different models and symbols and things that point to what's actually going on. So, I say all that to say, when you start to dance in the oneness of beingness, and you realize there's only one of us here, what does that do? What does that elevated awareness do for your soul in this human experience? Well, what it does is it causes you to live a life that's full of unconditional love and compassion and peace and kindness towards all of creation. Why? Because what you are doing to another, you are doing to yourself, because there's only one self, there's only one I am, and that's the mystical path. That is what the different mystics and sages have been teaching for thousands and thousands of years. So it may sound new or new agey, but it's not. This is not new. This has been around for a very long time. Men and women have been realizing this and experiencing it and talking about it and writing about it for thousands of years. And I think that, okay, right, one being, oneness, there is no separation. That's the ultimate fundamental truth that changes everything. It brings you into unity consciousness, and it brings you from the different stages. So, there's different levels or stages of the evolution of consciousness through a human experience, through a human incarnation. Spiral dynamics talks about this a lot. I like Ken Wilber's work on this as well. I've heard him sum it up this way. He talks about there's the egocentric stage of consciousness, ethnocentric, world-centric, cosmocentric. And as you transcend each stage, you include the previous stage that you're moving past. So there's integration going on in that evolutionary process and journey. But you go from ego, which is me, and that's the focus or the awareness of just like being a separate self, to ethnocentric, which is we, my group, my community, my religion, whatever it is, to world-centric, which is everybody. We are all one, there is no separation. That's seeing past the different things that divide us, the us versus them mentality, into cosmocentric, which is everything is a manifestation, an expression of the one. And so you go through these different levels of consciousness. Ken Wilber calls it growing up. And it's healthy to, like I said, move past these different stages and to see things from a higher perspective. But the ultimate, the highest perspective, the highest way of seeing is non-duality. And this is great. This is wonderful. However, what I'm getting at in saying all of this is we have to be careful, and that's why you transcend and include, as Ken Wilber says. So the ego is still there, even though you're realizing all is one. And through your ego, which is just this sense of being a separate self, it's not the ultimate, but it's this sense, this perception, this level of consciousness combined or integrated with the ultimate reality of oneness, that is what enables you to live as an individual, to let your authentic light shine simultaneously as you're living from the reality of non-duality. That's how it kind of works. So we have to be careful not to forget that we still have this individual expression, this unique expression of Source, while we are experiencing oneness and beingness and seeing how everything is interconnected. So there's that. And when you start to live from this non-dual sense and you're including your egoic self, you're transcending it, but you're also including it, then that is when you start to walk in a way, you start to live in a way that is very profound. And it's, I think, what the human experience is ultimately all about. But where people get stuck is they end up having some kind of profound mystical experience, or they do actually transcend into unity consciousness, into cosmocentric consciousness or whatever, and they like totally disregard or forget about their egoic perception while they're having this human experience in their human incarnation. So that's what we need to be aware of, and that's what I'm trying to say and teach and explain. Like, it's not about excluding the ego. The ego has its time and its place. Where the ego becomes unhealthy and where it causes a lot of suffering in our lives is when we think that this is all we are. It's when we don't transcend out of the egoic-centric stage. We just stay there, and then that's it. That's why there has to be a healthy level of evolution, and there has to be the understanding of transcending and including, as Ken Wilber says, in order for us to actually live from wholeness. Wholeness does not mean that we're just one with everything and we lose all sense of individuality. It doesn't mean that at all. No, it includes the individual, and that's what you're living through in your human incarnation. That's the only way to live fully, I think, as a human in your human incarnation, and to experience what you need to experience while you're here, while this is what's, going on. So, yes, all is one. That's amazing. It will change your life. It will change how you see yourself, others, God, the world, everything, because you'll see from this lens of unity, of oneness. Yes, that's amazing, but it doesn't end there. That's not the end-all, be-all, at least in this temporary human experience. No, you still have your authentic self, and by the way, as I've talked about in many videos, when you channel the oneness awareness through your authentic expression of the divine, of this, whatever you want to call it, the soul or whatever, when you channel that through your authenticity, that's when things start to get really interesting. That's when the magic starts to happen. That is when you discover how your path, your journey is going to look different from anyone else's. It's going to be unique, and that's what makes it so beautiful. And that's where we can start to appreciate and honor and respect the paths of others, because we know that, okay, that's their path. I have my path, they have their path. My journey is different than theirs. And I can leave it at that. I don't have to be pressured, and I don't have to worry about, oh, do they believe in the right thing, or are they experiencing what I'm experiencing? Because no, you leave that up to them. You leave that up to their own karma and dharma. And you trust that whatever is unfolding for them is what needs to be unfolded. And you do what you do and you focus on your own journey, your own experience of why you're here and what you need to learn in order for your soul to evolve and grow. So it's liberating in that sense, but at the same time, the oneness is still there within the individuality. And so I think that's it. I think I said everything I wanted to say, and I hope this video was something that really spoke to you. I hope it's something that maybe I explained it in a way that you've been really trying to understand. So I hope it resonated with you in that way. And if it did, I'd love to hear about it. So please drop a comment in the comment section below. If you have any questions or anything you want to say in the comment section, please just leave it in the comment section. Can't say it. And I'll respond. I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. And I'd love to hear your stories, like I said, your experiences, and how this message, how this explanation of the one simultaneously experiencing itself through the many different forms aligns or resonates with you or what you've been seeking to understand. So anyway, that's it. I'll see you next time.